Hey, what's up? Let's do some math today. In this video, we're going to talk about order of operations. And to start things off, we're going to do one of my favorite things to do, which is think about food. And I want to make an analogy here. So an analogy is we're trying to compare something. Now, when it comes to cooking, and I don't know how much cooking you do, but there's definitely sort of a proper order in which you're supposed to do things. You know, there are definitely set instructions for how things are supposed to go. So for example, the easiest one that comes to mind is spraying like a pan or a baking sheet with nonstick spray. If you forget to do that before you put in some really sticky, gooey cookie mix, those cookies might stick to the pan. If you forget to do that when you're cooking something, stuff might get stuck to the pot or pan that you're using. So, you got to make sure that you do that first, not last. And so that gets us kind of back to what we're doing with math. Sometimes we're going to be dealing with bigger expressions. We're going to be dealing with all these numbers and different operations, and there's definitely a way we're supposed to do things first. And we have this acronym right here, Pemdas, that helps guide us to making sure we do things in the proper order. And the way it works is we go from left to right with it. And so the first one is going to be parentheses. And what that means is you do anything that's within your parentheses first. Next, we have exponents. And so that's where you do anything with the little numbers at the top. Later, we'll talk more about addressing exponents and what those really are and how to do all the kind of fun problems with them. After that, we then deal with multiplication and division. However, this one's a special one in that we might do division, then multiplication. What it boils down to is we do what we see first from left to right with this group. Finally, we do something similar with addition and subtraction. We save all the addition and subtraction for the end. But again, we might do addition, subtraction. We might do subtraction, addition. It really depends on what we see while we're working left to right. All right. And so again, that is what PEMDAS is all about. It's about making sure that we are able to find out what's the first thing we should do and what's the last thing and what's everything we do in between. So let's look at some examples and apply it. Now, one little strategy I'd highly recommend is that you write this acronym, PEMDAS, somewhere. So that way you can see it and you can kind of check it off. So when we look at number one right here, the first thing I'm noticing is an exponent. We need to do an exponent. So this is 2 times 2. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 minus 4. Next, I'm going to move on to multiplication. So I'll do this 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 4, and finally I come down to 8. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is a really big idea when it comes to math, is notice how I'm funneling down my work. I start with a longer expression, but it gets shorter and shorter every time until finally I get an answer. It's important that you start developing this habit of funneling your work now, because eventually the problems get more complicated. But if you can break it down to small, easy steps, then you'll be more successful later on. All right, so for this one, we're going to go by the book. We have parentheses. So we're going to do that one first. 7 squared minus 10 plus 3, which is 13. Now, once we've done whatever's in the parentheses, we lose the parentheses, just minus 13. Now we do our exponent. Now, exponents are a way of saying repetitive multiplication. This is saying 7 times 7. If you need to, you can do the crunch the numbers off on the side, but that'll be 49 minus 13. Again, if you want to be certain about something, don't be afraid to do a little bit of scratch work. 6, 3, 36. And again, notice how my work is funneling down to an answer. Now, I want to highlight a difference between a couple of problems here. So actually, let's literally get the highlighter out. Let's look at this problem and this problem. They're very similar, except for the fact that this guy has parentheses. This one right here has no parentheses. That affects how we approach it. The first thing we're going to do is address the exponent. So 7 squared is 49. Now I'm going minus 10 plus 3. Now remember, I said that when we're working within either this group or this group, and we've done everything else, we work left to right. What do we see first? The first thing I see here is subtraction. So I'm going to go 49 minus 10, which is 39, plus 3 to get 42. That's a bit different than what I got here. up on this problem. And that's because this one had the parentheses and this one here did not. So again, got to pay attention. We had the same numbers, but the problem was a little bit different, and so the answers were a little bit different. Now, similarly, we're going to do something similar here. We're going to do our division first before we do our multiplication. A lot of students would think that we're going to do this problem as 48 divided by 12, but that's not right. All right, what we want to do is 48 divided by 6 first, which is 8 times that by 2, get 16. A couple more examples and then we're good. So first of all, I want to show you this because I've noticed some students aren't quite sure what to do with this. Right here, there's an implied multiplication. So this is 2 times whatever is going to happen in the parentheses. But we often don't write the multiplication dot there, which is what confuses some students. So just let it be known that this is multiplication, 2 times this. But again, we'll focus on our parentheses. 5 times 3 is 15, so 2 times 15 minus 4, still in parentheses, so do that first. 2 times 11, now we multiply, so again, this means multiplication. Final answer is 22. All right, right here, I want to show you one of my favorite tricks to make sure students are paying attention. Many students are going to see 40 minus 5, and they're going to do that because it's just right there. But according to order of operations, we have to do multiplication. And I snuck it in the middle of the problem. So we have 40 minus 10 plus 9. Now again, we got to work left to right. So we'll do our subtraction first to get 30 plus 9. And finally, 39. So a couple of big takeaways. 1, this funneling of work. 2, box your answer when you're done. That way I know you're done. And that's how you communicate that that's what you think the answer is. 3, we have Pemdas. It's about proper instructions. And within Pemdas, we have these 2 separate groups where we work left to right. We do what we see first, not necessarily multiplication and addition. So good luck on your practice, and let me know if you have any questions.